the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Welcome to the latest AVSocial. My name is Dawn Meade. I'm your host. I'm here as usual with my lovely co-host, Kelly Perkins. Kelly, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon this Friday.
And today we're joined by two special guests. The first is Christopher Neto. Chris is a consultant with AV HelpDesk, and he's joining us for the first time on AVSocial. Hi, Chris.
How you doing? How's everything?
Good, thank you. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
And our other special guest today is Jane Johnson, who's a co-founder and managing director, I believe is the title, for Pivot Communications. Hope I got that correct. Hi, Jane. Welcome to the show.
Oh, yeah, you got that correct. You know, you can make up your own titles when you make up your own business, so whatever you want to call me.
Fantastic. So today we're going to be talking about gamification. If you're like us, you might have heard that term quite frequently. It's been out for about the past 5 years, and you might also be a little bit confused exactly what gamification is. From the name, there's something about games in there, and it's a hot new business trend and management trend, but what exactly is gamification? How can we use it? Should we use it? And how will it impact our businesses? So does anyone want to jump in with a what you think gamification is before we get to the dictionary definition?
I'll jump in with the roots of it being in the online video game, which is interesting for me because I will admit that I did have for a number of years a very significant World of Warcraft addiction, which is a great online game that does follow the principles of, well, I think the gamification was based on games like World of Warcraft because the quests, the rewards, and all of that. So very excited that we're talking about this.
Right on. Excellent. Anybody? Chris, Kelly, any thoughts on what you think gamification is before we get to the real thing, so to speak?
I guess when I think of gamification, I really think of kind of taking some sort of marketing campaign or an idea and making it fun and creating some sort of type of competition out of it. That's how I think of it. You know, whether you do it in social media or some other tactics, but really, getting, like it says, like a game.
The whole thing with gamification that I've seen is that its main purpose is to engage the end user or to engage your customer. So, similar to the video games, they want you to continue coming back. They want you to continue trying to go for the next level. I grew up an 80s video game kid. I played the Nintendo, first generation Nintendo, and sorry, I have to admit that. Never got into the PC side of gaming. I am very involved in social media, but I don't have Facebook. But I know the addiction to the video games that are in Facebook, the Farmvilles, the bubble popping candy soda pop game. That's all over the place. And, what are you doing? Oh, I'm popping it, or whatever the hell somebody told me that they were doing. Or I don't know those games very well, so I know there's an addiction there for some people. But it's social gaming, and you're now competing against one another and against your friends, and you need your friends to send you stuff. You need that power pellet to move to the next level, whatever the case is. So it's a very big, very involved process. What manufacturers and companies are doing that I'm noticing, and now the term gamification is coming out of it, is they're taking everything from if they would like to do some sort of awareness program, whether it could be rooted in something social for a good cause. It could be a promotion on their soda. The one that keeps coming to mind on gamification is the Coke bottles. Though it's hidden, not so much a game, you're not reaching for the next level, But look at what they did. They put your name on a bottle of soda. You went nuts looking for your name. You went nuts looking for your mom's name and your dog's name, and you're snapping pictures. You're putting it on Instagram. You're tagging it with the share a Coke tag. Look at how many views they get. As far as when you're talking about social media, they're hitting Twitter, they're hitting Facebook, they're hitting Instagram, all the popular sites. There's pictures of those bottles everywhere. It's why Pepsi dropped out of Super Bowl ads a couple of years ago and focused primarily on social media. When they pulled out of the big commercial space, obviously we know how many millions of dollars it takes to get a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl. But when Pepsi pulled out, that was a major player in the game for the NFL, for the networks, and they said, no, we're going to continue our Super Bowl stuff, but we're going to do it online. The costs for them to do it online is a quarter, if not less, than what they were paying for a 30-second spot, and all the headaches that come with it. And there's that chance of flop. I'd rather take that chance and flop with a lot less money, than hit it. So that's gamification in my eyes.
Okay. Well, let's go to the experts here. Professors Kevin Werbach and Dan Hunter of University of Pennsylvania Wharton School of Business. I'm sure everybody's heard of them, at least the school. They're kind of the acknowledged experts or leaders in this field of gamification. They've written a book, For the Win, How Game Thinking Can Revolutionize Their Business, your business. That came out about a year ago, and they've got another book, The Gamification Toolkit, coming out next month. I haven't read that one yet because I didn't get a preview, but these two gentlemen actually teach the world's first course on gamification at Penn Wharton, and they also, you can take that class on Coursera. Apparently, I'll give them a plug while I'm here. They define gamification as the use of game elements and game design techniques in non-game contexts. So game elements, it could be game pieces, it could be the mechanic of the game, like if you're playing checkers, the jumping aspect or whatever, game rules in the real world, and the non-game context, the business world, social goals, that sort of thing. But they basically break it down into five main categories: challenges, levels, teams, rewards, and badges as game elements that you see and are useful in the business world. And I'm sure we can all think of examples of these, badges. How many websites, apps, companies have little silly badges you can win? Foursquare, for instance. I've never played Foursquare, but folks that have, I was mayor of Starbucks 12 times. Doesn't mean a thing in the real world.
Put that on your.
But people would compete. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Put that on your resume.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that just, it plays to the human psyche that we want to compete, that we want to challenge ourselves, and we want to try to beat other people or tie other people, see how we relate and how our level is compared to some other people. One of the things that I found interesting, it plays to what Chris said about, for your customers, the guys from Wharton actually break it down into 3 types of gamification. Internal gamification, like putting up a leaderboard in your company, who has the most sales or who has the best, little weight loss challenge or what have you, kind of thing, who have the most leads garnered this quarter or this month. Then they have the external gamification, which speaks to the customer and probably what most of us would partake in. And then behavior modification gamification. So like the weight loss challenge type thing or some of the apps to use gamification to improve yourself. Guys, what examples could you think of any of these types of gamification or that you've seen or that you've actually used in your business or for customers? Anyone?
Yeah, I think a lot of really good examples. And I think remind me, one of the first places I saw gamification tactics was actually Smart People that came out a few years ago that started doing points and badges and such. It was amazing how quickly that website grew because they did that, and it demonstrates how much we as humans are willing to do for a little. You know, this little reward, this little badge, this little level up, this point, and we will spend hours on the website and we'll come back and we will give our time. We work with a client that does brand advocacy, which is a great place for gamification, and one of the things they did that was quite effective is that they built gamification into their tool, and they created a leaderboard. So they have been able to get everyday people, customers, to become brand advocates for pretty much free and provide assistance to shoppers and other customers just to get rewards, virtual rewards, like not even real rewards, badges, and get a better placement on a leaderboard. And I think it's extraordinary what we will do for that kind of recognition. But it is a very, very effective tactic for getting customer reviews, for getting people to participate in your online communities, certainly for training and marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, any examples leap to mind for you or that you've taken part in?
Well, I know that there are successful, for example, app-type products out there. A buddy of mine is doing Couch to 5K.
Right.
So that's a great example. And if you're not familiar with that, it's you basically learn how to run a 3-mile race by walking, and you follow their program, which is disguised as a game. Walk 100 steps, walk a minute, run a minute and a half. Next thing you know, by the time you're done with that 9-week program, which is broken into 3 categories, you now are running 3 miles. So that's pretty impressive. And along the way, you get, your badge for making, your whatever speed or augmenting your pace and stuff like that, which is really cool. One of the things that I've been working on with AVNation is our AV hashtags handle, which is to engage the AV community. That is not a technical thing. It's not a. It was never, I guess, conceived as a way to, I guess, sell a product, because we don't sell anything. It's just to bring in the people that are quiet on Twitter. Maybe there are people that are not comfortable about talking technical stuff. They are AV people. We know who they are. But a great example was the first week that we did it, and I put out a hashtag called AV a movie title, and where you had to put AV components into a movie title, and it took off. And we had 1 million+ impressions, and I had 90-something people playing multiple times. That little experiment then turned into, well, we need to do this next week. So next week we turned it into AV a song, and that's when everybody started putting AV terms into a song lyric. And it's gone on little by little, and it will develop into something bigger and better. We're actually working on the podcast idea for the recap of who's winning, because we assign points, and right now it's all fun and games. It's actually based on a very popular hashtag game that's run by Chris Hardwick, the Nerdist, who does that for At Midnight. And he basically took an online goof and turned it into a nightly 30-minute comedy show where he brings on the comedians, and they have seconds to come up with these hashtags, and some of them are great. But what it's done for our community is bring out some of the people that maybe are not so technically savvy and want to talk or post constant technical stuff, but maybe have a thing for pop culture. And you could see that in when they respond back and that they understand certain things. Some people dug real deep for song titles and movie titles, and today was, the last 2 days has been comic book people. You could see who's has a comic book background or grew up as a comic book geek. So there's a variety of other things going along for that as well. So
excellent. And good example. I didn't know about the comic book, and I'll have to check that as soon as we're done with the podcast here, because I want to play.
Well,
Kelly, how about you?
Just to let you know, though, at AVNgers, Avengers has been taken already.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right.
Kelly?
That was too easy. Sorry.
You're good. To be honest, most of the gamification stuff I've done, at least while at AVI, has been really internal stuff, just trying to get, really trying to get my colleagues involved and getting kind of buy-in on a lot of the marketing stuff, and especially our salespeople. I mean, what does a salesperson want more than anything but to win, right? So I have several contests. I guess I've called them contests thus far, but I suppose they could be considered, a type of gamification. But, who writes, I do every quarter, I'll do, whoever writes the best scope of work, during that quarter. That way I can collect, really good scopes of work and, meet with my team, decide which, who wins for that quarter, and then, they get, I think it's like $500 or something. And that's actually worked really well. I'm in the midst of starting one for case studies, just because it's so hard to get case studies, from our customers. When we do it, yeah, so, a lot of stuff like that we'll do internally. As far as kind of external gamification, I was scratching my head trying to figure out examples that we've done at AVI, and I haven't done really anything, I guess you could say, anything of substance here. But I mean, when I was at Vadio, we did that, group station or base station contest over Twitter when we were kind of launching the product and stuff. And I think, Don, you won one, didn't you?
I'm using it right now, in fact. Thank you, Vadio.
So, and we got a lot of engagement on that when we did that, and it was really fun. I mean, we did basically for that campaign, you had to call in and get a demo of our new product, and then you had to tweet, I got a demo of this product, and then hashtag, I think it might have been Vadio Base Station or something, and then we picked, every week we'd pick a name out of a bowl, and we'd give away kind of like a customer prize pack, and then we'd shoot like a Vine video for it. It was kind of just like a fun Friday thing, and then at the very end, for the grand prize, you could win the Vadio Base Station product. So it was just, it wasn't anything that, it didn't take like a ton of time to put together by any means, and it was kind of fun. So I guess that would probably be the biggest gamification campaign type thing I've done. But yeah.
What's the biggest external? I mean, you mentioned several of your internal games there. And, don't put down the internal gamification. It can give you some real tangible results to improve your business, to improve your processes. Kelly's using it, she says, for case studies, which anyone in marketing knows is just like the biggest pain in the rear to try to get out of customers. Or out of salespeople, for that matter. Get your engineers to actually write up what they designed. Oh, it's like pulling teeth. The classic example that the guys from Wharton use in their book is Microsoft has an entire culture of gamification within their company, and love them or hate them, they're Microsoft, right? But for them, their internal programming and quality control groups are where they really gamified the culture, because that is mind-numbing work. I mean, if you've ever had to troubleshoot anything small, it's mind-numbing, and these poor souls have to do that 24/7, 365. Basically, it's their job. They came up with several different games. The one that really struck me was called Page Hunt. And in Page Hunt, they would give them sample web pages of what people are putting on the internet, and then have a contest to come up with the most associations. What search terms would result in this page? And in that way, they'd put up a page about Jennifer Lopez, and someone from their team would say J-Lo. Well, all the algorithms and computers in the world aren't necessarily going to associate J-L-O with Jennifer Lopez. But as humans and actual people, we use that kind of slang or that term, that if someone's going to search for J-Lo, they'll get this page about Jennifer Lopez. And in that way, Microsoft was able to use the gamification to improve their search engine results. I don't use Bing, but for people that do, it improved their search results. It improved their ability to associate related topics in a way that you wouldn't be able to get in any kind of automated sense. So the internal gamification can reap some real rewards for companies. I think Chris first said the word. Flash over to Chris there. We see he's such a fun guy, but you said fun. We're bringing fun back into business, into life with gamification. It's real easy, especially like in the Microsoft case and in the case of trying to get case studies, what have you. Life gets boring. Life gets dull. Life gets just so humdrum. Why do we even bother? And I think, you're looking at the psychology of gamification, I think that's kind of where it comes from. Chris, you were about to say?
Internally, I know that companies, and I spend a lot of time inside Fortune 500 companies working on site with companies. I spent 6 years working for a large pharmaceutical company internally as an employee. Trainings are the first place you're going to get hit with gamifications, because in a pharmaceutical world, not everybody working in a pharmaceutical company such as myself wants to go through the legal humdrum of CFR Part 11 and all that stuff that you need to know, and all the I guess the technical details of working at a large pharmaceutical company. So what they try to do, and most of the companies that I've worked at, when they make you do some sort of training, it's keeping your mind off the fact that you're training. You're training, you're learning, and you're moving through the game, and you're doing the requirements, but they're trying to keep you distracted at the same time learning. Think of kids in school. You put a book in front of a kid, it's going to go so far. You put a video game in front of a kid, it's going to go 10 times further. Now, granted, I have an issue with not knowing how to read, write, and improving penmanship, but there is a benefit to point and click. The average kindergartner can type probably what I was able to type in 10th grade, or 11th grade when I had typing on a typewriter. Yeah, it was a machine. It was back then. It was fun, and you can see it in a museum these days. It's great. So,
say that's a really good point. That you mentioned training, because I mean, seriously, anything from trivia, or any type of competition that involves trivia or knowledge, that actually makes it really fun. I mean, who doesn't love, a little Jeopardy or, whatnot?
If you want to put a spin on it, not just your knowledge, but for the people seeking knowledge. For example, what I've seen a lot of is a combination of people taking the gamification idea and crowdsourcing to get their information. So a big company who is
like surveys?
Yeah, to get surveys.
Okay.
That's another way to put it.
Sorry.
Something like the soda can companies. I think it's Mountain Dew, for example. They play not so much a gamification. They combine the two. They crowdsource for their bottle artwork from local artists or national artists, whether they're graffiti artists, tattoo artists, whatever the case is. Rockstar Soda Cans does it a lot. They'll go out and they want people to design their bottles for them. How's that? You don't have to go out and do it yourself as a company. You can have these people compete, and then once it's out, then it turns into gamification. Vote. How many times can you vote? Who do you think is the best? Local, to your area, who's going to win? It's genius. It's the whole thing behind Kickstarter, for example. Kickstarter for the whole crowdsource idea is great, but once you get involved and you're backing the people, and you're not getting badges, so it's not exactly there, but there is an amount of pride of being one of the early adopters to a Kickstarter program. That's your badge that you get on your, hey, I just supported so-and-so, and I'm going to get this cool gadget when it's done. So,
yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, and it gives you that sense of, smugness. And once the product's out, that I was one of the first ones to adopt that, and I supported them, and that sort of thing. Jane, I think you mentioned it. Oh gosh, just totally lost my train of thought. The guys from Wharton, they outright say at the beginning of their book they were World of Warcraft players as well. That's kind of their background, but They, oh gosh.
Well, I think that anytime you're going after an IT audience, like the gamification works really well because you are going after guys that have played a lot of video games. And it's a kind of a natural fit. And I wanted to kind of follow on what Chris was saying in his example of training, so that Adobe did a really interesting thing with training, but more of an external. So rather than, it wasn't an internal training program that they used gamification for, it was actually one of their free trials for their software. And it was like, I think probably Photoshop, and so they incorporated gamification elements into a training program around a free trial, and because they did this, they had 4 times as many people actually convert to sales. So there's actually a really practical application for gamification in revenue for companies, not just the internal training and sales adoption of new programs, which obviously is very important. But you can take those same principles and then create a great training program externally where you're creating missions, and if they finish the first few tactics like learning how to crop a picture and take red eye out, then they go to the next level and you create badges they can share on Facebook, and then people go, oh wow, okay, I didn't know I could learn that too, and they all start signing up as well. So I mean, there's just endless great examples of companies that have done it really, really effectively.
Interesting.
Fantastic.
The training.
Go ahead. Sorry. So that's a really good use for both internal and external gamification with companies. You can provide actual process improvement. You can provide actual revenue. In Chris's example with the soda designs, you can not have to pay graphic designers a whole lot of money to come up with cool things to make your box or your bottle look great. So as AV people or as technology people, what are some great examples of gamification that you've seen, or what are some great suggestions we might have, that ideas that you've always wished somebody would try, kind of thing?
Yeah. Oh, well, if we had endless budget, if our clients had a lot of budget, I think there's a lot of application for manufacturers to drive more involvement in the channel, get their partners more engaged with gamification by creating, an online community or advocate hub, and creating, and that could be access to training programs. It could be providing content that the partners could then share. I think there's a lot of ways that the manufacturers could engage better with their partner channel using gamification, which I think would be really exciting and interesting to be involved in. And I think that just purely from a marketing standpoint, in building that kind of advocate community, there's a lot of opportunity to generate leads and have content sharing and get referrals. And if you put a webinar out, and you can reward people if they share your webinar, if they help you get people to sign up for the webinar. So I think there are some very pure marketing tactics that could be done very effectively in a community. I think the challenge is going to be there's an expense with that. It's not something that most people can build themselves. They'd have to go to a third-party software application and tie that into their website. But I think there's going to be some really good ROI that comes out of that.
Absolutely. Chris, Kelly, either of you have any great thoughts?
Well, go ahead, Kelly. You go first.
No, I was just going to say, I think Jane's kind of right on there, where I think it's just one of those things. And Chris, you had kind of mentioned before how a lot of the kind of the high-end audio guys, the kind of prosumer guys, always, they do a lot of really cool, gamification type contests and stuff. And I think it's a little bit different from the, commercial to residential, because you actually have consumers, so it's more of like, B2C versus B2B, so it's like one person actually interacting with someone. But I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff where they do like Instagram contests, you know what I mean, and you can take pictures of where you see specific like speakers or microphones, while you're out at perhaps a concert or whatnot, and you take them on Instagram and stuff, and you can win, and they'll reshare it and whatnot. But I mean, what's cooler than that than having one of your, somebody that's at, like, I don't know who's popular right now as far as music, but you're at, let's say, Like,
You're sounding old, Kelly.
I know, right?
Don't say MC Hammer.
Yes.
12-year-old on the podcast. I can't think of anyone.
No, I was just trying to think of, like, who am I seeing soon? Okay, Alabama Shakes. I'm going to go see the Alabama Shakes soon. So let's say I'm, like, at one of our, venues in Minneapolis, and you're going to a concert, and you have somebody taking a photo of, the Shure microphone that they're using or whatever up on stage, and then you're sharing it with the world. Like, how cool is that? It's free press. It's, you have the whole, like, fame factor involved as well, and you didn't have to do anything, you know what I mean, other than, maybe throw together, like, a hashtag or some sort of, maybe prize or contest at the end. But, I mean, those, again, it's a little different than commercial, but I don't know, there's some really cool stuff you can do with it. I think you just have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Well, and the event itself, I mean, that can sometimes, how many times at Infocom, the first year they had the giant video wall at the front of the Infocom where if you hashtagged Infocom, whatever the year was, and all day people would walk by like, hey, there's my tweet, that kind of thing. Just
yeah,
the
totally.
game is kind of the fun itself. Same with venues. I was at a concert and they did the same thing. The giant jumbotron until the bands came out. People were tweeting, and if it would show up on there, they'd take a picture of their tweet on the giant jumbotron. So, Chris, you were gonna say?
Yeah, me and Kelly had a conversation offline about this. The consumer market has better examples than the commercial AV world because the consumer world is appealing to the kids. You want the shiny gold headphones? I'm going to take a picture with me in the shiny gold headphones. You know what I'm saying? Are they great? In our world, we're sitting there going, goofball, you're wearing shiny gold headphones that are not that good. You just dropped a crap load of money. Okay? But he's not a goofball because he just fell hook, line, and sinker for what Beats, what Monster, what JBL, what all those big manufacturers want. Here's a kid, duck face selfie, wearing them stupid gold things on his head, but it's out, and the next person is going to like it, and it's just going to go right down the line. Okay? That works for the consumer people. What are we going to do? Sit there with our touch panel? Hey, it doesn't do it. I mean, I do pictures of my installs, and the only people that are looking at the pictures of my installs are either the manufacturers or competitors or people that are in the business. Straight up. That's, and we're just proud of our stuff. I did a contest on Instagram. I participated in a contest on Instagram where Audio-Technica was looking for a combination of art and their products. At the time, I was working on my leather mic covers, and I had a Audio-Technica microphone that I took and I wrapped and studded it out and, mounted it on a microphone mount and did that whole thing and sent it off to them on their Instagram page, and I won a set of Audio-Technica headphones for doing that. And what do they get out of that? They get to retweet that picture of their microphone custom wrapped in something that I made. The winning picture, I think, was a guy who took a bunch of Audio-Technica products and splatter painted them using a drum. So he took a drum, filled it with paint, put the things in there, and just beat the drum, and Jackson Pollock the whole thing, and very cool, very very hip, and he won. Awesome. I mean, maybe I would have won something more than a set of headphones, which, by the way, they're great. But I would have, for me, it was fun doing that, and it was sort of like, it's just another level of, if I'm going to post some pictures on Instagram and I have a microphone sitting there, why wouldn't I do something like that? Now, it worked for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but
although
it's one way to interact.
Yeah. To be fair, Chris, one of the best examples I think so far. Sorry, my dog's joining this conversation. One of the best examples of gamification I've seen so far in our industry, you had a hand in, I believe, last year at Infocom. AVNation and some of our friends, Hi-Fi, Phil Cordell, the AV rapper, decided to do a little. It wasn't really even a contest because there really wasn't a prize that I know of.
It was.
But did we give away a prize? Because
Yes,
I didn't hear. All right. Well, why don't you tell us about it? Tell us about
The prize actually went to Chuck Espinosa. He, we had an esteemed panel of judges to decide that who was the winner. Actually, we threw it into a hat and we pulled his name. We're obviously talking about the AV selfie. The AV selfie promotion that we did at Infocom started as a joke. The roots to it actually was a conversation between myself and Joshua Stackhouse. We were talking about just random crap. This is what we do on the phones, driving home 2 hours each way. So he tells me, he's like, man, I was just reading this article about cell phone companies. The funny thing is, when I told the story to Tom LeBlanc from CI, he thought I was nuts. And I'll tell you what his response was. I go, Josh goes, I just read an article where cell phone companies have a hard time with data because of the amount of freaking people taking selfies. I said, really? Yeah. Because the bandwidth overload of pictures of people, just random selfies, and they'll take, 5,000 selfies in the course of a day, young kids specifically. I said,
Right.
You know what? That gives me an idea. So why don't we create something? So why don't we do the AV selfie? When I told this to Tom LeBlanc, he goes, so you wanted to break cell phone companies? I said, no, but if they're taking such a chunk of bandwidth and getting such a hit with selfies, if I put it at an event like an Infocom, there's 40,000 people going to be there. Chances of 40,000 people all taking a selfie at one shot, that'd be kind of funny. But no, that was not going to happen. So, you take the idea of the selfie, you work it in about a month ahead of time. You tell people, start engaging early. You have guys like Mark Coxon from Chief, who are actually now he's with Daylight, taking pictures with the airline pilot, with the taxi driver, dropping him off at the airport. I said document this, document this, and then we were going to take this and then roll it into a video. And at the end there would be a prize. And ASK Proxima came through, gave us a projector. We gave it to Chuck, who in turn graciously donated it to the Infocom Educational Department, who was actually needing a projector. That's why it sort of went like under the radar. But yes, we gave it to Chuck, and Chuck was the head of CTS. He's like, he was in front of CTS wall, so we combined his thing of taking pictures in front of the CTS wall with new CTSs and people that are CTSs. We blew it out of the park. I did not expect to see the amount of pictures that we had. We had over 1,500 pictures dropped onto the Twitter handle. It was the talk of it, and then to assemble all those pictures, get it to our video editor, on a Wednesday to debut, or excuse me, by Thursday afternoon to debut Friday morning at the Crestron booth, because they had this massive silicon core LED and sound system, because they knew we were coming with that. They specifically asked us to do it in 4K, so we get the joy of actually putting something up on YouTube that was actually 4K that people could use as a demo piece. It was just a win-win for us as AVNation. Creating the video was not very hard. To get Matt and Phil to hang out in the bathroom with towels on their heads and prep and primp, that wasn't that bad. So everything, the stars aligned, everything just worked out smoothly. The people bought into it. It's still a hashtag that's used today. I was watching AV selfies coming in through from the Crestron Masters course this past weekend, and basically it's happening. This is starting again. It's May. It's selfie season for Infocom, and the people are going to start packing and getting their stuff together for Infocom. Will start snapping away, and we love it, because for us as the pure geeks who want to see the behind-the-scenes stuff, you get to see the people packing their gear. And some companies buy into the selfie idea and start giving us little selfie previews of what they're going to be displaying, whether it's a corner of the new camera that they're going to be showing or a button on a switch. That's enough to drive a freaking AV engineer nuts or a pure geek nuts, because what are they working on? We don't want to see an HDMI button. What is that 4K symbol next to? And, as they pull back the picture, I mean, we're laying, we laid the foundation for people to use it for gaming or for using it for their own promotions. The same thing with AV hashtags. We're basically asking companies, put your name in there. It's free. We told people specifically on AV Selfie, take a picture in your booth with your logo behind you. Have fun with it. Go wild. I mean, we have people on top of the freaking Link thing in Vegas trying to snap pictures and stuff. Here's the world's tallest AV selfie. And then some
So-
dude at 6'5" sends us a picture. No, I'm the tallest AV selfie. You know, it just became fun and engaging, and a lot of people got into it. It's great.
So basically, you've created gameception because you created this gamification of AV selfie and also of AV hashtags that last year the game of take your picture at the CTUS wall merged with, and now we're merging it with these other games that different companies are using. That's fantastic, and it's kind of self-perpetuating way of making it, you said the words, engaging and fun for customers, for end users, for people in the industry that have to just, it's another press release. No, it's an AV selfie, you know.
What's great about it is that I never thought of it as that. And I think that it was successful because it wasn't so freaking blatant that this was a promotion. It sort of just grew into something very holistic. And when that happens, people buy into that. The forced hashtag or the forced, game. You have to go here. You have to go visit this person. You have to buzz in. The minute you add rules to any sort of game, if it gets too complex, people are out. They're done. If I got to snap a picture, got to tag it, got to put it on Facebook, retweet it 3 times, and tag 4 people in it, that's not happening.
It's hard even to get people to tweet sometimes.
Exactly. So you got to live with what you got, and if it's only 90 people that are playing a game, or if you get 2 selfies, whatever the case is, you got it out there. It's up to the people to adopt it. Unfortunately, what does it cost you to put together? The AV selfie really didn't cost us much until we started looking into doing the videos, doing the music, shooting in 4K, renting the cameras. Then it became something a little bit more expensive. And then we're going, man, how are we going to recoup these costs? So it actually, we don't get those costs back. Maybe this year there'll be people that want the selfie at their booth. We'll show it. We'll throw parties. I don't know. We'll figure out a way to do it. But I'm not going to take it away from the people. I don't want to take it away from the fun that was had with that. I want to hear stories of people getting tackled in a casino because somebody had an AV selfie T-shirt on and they want to take a picture with the guy with the AV selfie shirt. It's great.
Well, and you made a great point, Chris, that you can't force it. It's like forcing something to be viral. You can't force something to be a great game that people adopt. And if you don't believe me, ask McDonald's. They tried the Gamify different times, McD stories or something like that as a hashtag, and boy, that took about 2 seconds for the horror stories to start turning up on social media with hashtag McD stories, and they pulled that promotion pretty quick. So gamification isn't easy. You can't force it, but when it hits, it can be great success. Great success.
Well, it's funny because you don't even have to do anything super complex. I mean, it's kind of, in a lot of aspects, already all over the place. I mean, just walk around the booths at Infocom or NAB, and I mean, people have the basketball games. I think one year we had skee ball. At the Shure booth, they had the fortune teller from the movie Big, where you press the button and it gave you a fortune or whatever, and you could win a microphone. Or even Infocom now, they're doing that contest for the shirts. Get your design on our shirts and stuff. So, I mean, it's kind of all over the place anyways, and even just taking dipping your toe in the water a little bit and trying it is pretty dang easy.
ISC actually had an app built when we were at ISC this year that was built on a gamification platform. So for everywhere that you went, if you posted a picture on the show floor, you tweeted, you got a point. It was that easy. You tweet something about ISE, you got a point. If you tweeted and edited a picture, you got 2 points for the picture, 1 for the tweet, right? Then there was a leaderboard, and then there was a competition. So going in, I was up there, and I was doing well. Obviously, that's all I do, but over there I'm crippled when I don't have cell phone service like I do here. God help whoever wants to go at it, blow for blow with me at like an Infocom, because my phone, I carry 3 batteries with me just in case. I have to run into something like that.
Nerd.
But out there, I'm at a standstill. I'm hoping for Wi-Fi, and I'm running around trying to get a Wi-Fi signal. You know, by the end, I'm working with manufacturers that I'm friends with. I'm like, can I get your Wi-Fi password? I need to continue on the leaderboard. Sad.
Funny.
A little competitive. Oh.
Well, and I think that's part of what makes gamification so great, because humans are by nature, we're competitive. I want to win. I want to do that. I want to get that. I want to be that. You know, I want to be the fastest, be the top of the leaderboard. And the guys from Morton in their book, they said, you know, the best uses of gamification in business are when you're not giving away a big prize or whatever. The game is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The game is what brings people joy. The game is the reward. And I think we had that with AVSocial, because people were having a blast running around like, hey, geez, you know, and looking like idiots on the show floor or throughout Vegas last year.
But it's so much fun.
Absolutely.
You said that we
go
had
ahead.
a prize. I mean, we did have the projector to give away, but I think the bigger prize was obviously they're taking their pictures. It's getting up. It's getting retweeted by us. It's and all that. But the prize was you were going to get on a music video. You were going to have your picture put into what I think Kirsten Nelson said it was, you know, the AV yearbook of 2014. That was the video. It felt like it was like a high school yearbook. Mm-hmm. You know, here we are at our graduation or at our prom, if you will, at Infocom. This is our big event, you know, and everybody wants a picture. And everybody wants to get into the, you know, the video, the end of year video, and that was the prize, and people were there, and the people that got in were tagging, and then that's the other thing. Once we put that video together, drop it onto YouTube, did I make the video? And then the ones that did make the video, hey, I made the video, whoop, there it goes, out to their social channels. And look, I'm here at minute 113. We weren't expecting that. We just sort of said, here's a cool video. We put all these people doing silly things in front of, you know, AV, and it sort of built on, it sort of took on a life of itself, and it grew. It just happened. There's no other better way to put it. It just happened naturally. Mm-hmm. You know, right. Everything that is social about social media happened within AVSocial, in that it was fun, it was engaging, and that yes, people were into it, and then just kept moving it along. We weren't doing anything to it. AVNation wasn't doing any promotion towards it. We did that early on, and then it just took on a life of itself. You know, we will again do a little bit of promotion for it, but we're fully expecting that, you know, people are already asking. I mean, I've been hearing it now for 2 months. Are we doing AVSocial? Is there going to be a video? You know, can we show it at our booth? You know, or can you come take pictures at our booth? You know, it's
the perfect storm for gamification, that's for sure.
I guess so.
And you know, you said you did have a projector, but honestly, the prize was, am I in the video? Did I get seen in the Christie booth or the whoever booth? You know, am I going to be part of it this year? And that's what makes it fun and makes the people want to take part in it, I think.
And there was a picture that was taken of us at the Crestron booth, and the picture is from the front looking back. We stopped traffic. So that's something I've never seen at Infocom, where Crestron booth was. It was right at the entrance, and there's a picture, and you just see it's like a sea of people all around the Crestron booth, up the stairs, over the rafters. I'm like, when you stop and you look at that, I'm like, holy crap! Crestron got this video up and stopped traffic, and that's our video that's up there.
Okay, well now I know who should have paid for it. Come on. That's where you recoup your funds from.
I guess, but not being a marketer per se, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to translate that. That's why
So we'll bring Jane in on the project then this year.
I would have walked up to the VP of marketing and handed him a bill.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that felt kind of good. I mean, when they're like, "You think this is going to be big?" and I'm like, "No clue. Let's have some fun with it." And afterwards, it was very interesting, to say the least.
Awesome.
Sure.
Well, we're coming up on our hour. We'll go, I guess, once more around, see if anybody has any great thoughts to add, and also, let us know where folks can find you and keep in touch with you. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show. Chris is not a full-on marketing professional. He's an actual AV consultant. We brought him in because he is the mastermind behind things like AV Selfie and some of the other crazy antics that we at AVNation get up to. So, Chris, where can folks find you, and do you have any great last thoughts for us?
You can usually find me in a hole somewhere trying to figure out what the next thing is. Now it's like once you do one, you sort of got to, what are you going to do for an encore? So, no, you can find me on Twitter. I'm all over that at Chris_Neto. My day job is what I do full-time, which is I am an AV design consultant with AV HelpDesk. We are a design consulting firm based out of Boston. But at night, I am also a writer for Commercial Integrator, and I do a lot of work with AVNation on the back end as far as working with some social media ideas and stuff like that. I'm not the marketing person. There are much smarter people that handle that for AVNation than me. But I'm the guy who has to think the bizarro projects and how do we make something stick. So I have to spend a lot of time listening to radio and younger people of the generation to give us ideas of what's hot and what's coming up, and then I try to translate it to the older guys, and they have no clue what I'm talking about, and I don't even know what I'm talking about half the times too, so I have to translate.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
And Jane,
Thanks, Chris.
oh, thanks for coming, Chris. We appreciate it. Jane Johnson, you're here from Pivot Communications. Thank you for coming on the show today. Where can we see you? What great final words have you got for us on the topic?
Sure. You can find me at the Twitter address that should be below my face. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn quite a bit. Final thoughts on gamification. I like what Chris was saying about the ISC app because I've used those kind of apps at events before, and they're just a really great way to get people involved in your event, going to different presentations and commenting on it and sharing and meeting and networking with other folks there. So like that a lot. A lot of IT forums will use gamification to get people involved and sharing comments. So that was my last thought on gamification. So you can also find us at pivotslc.com, which is our website, and I do a lot of work with content marketing and always looking for ways to improve that. And I think gamification definitely has a role in helping people improve their content marketing and getting ratings and feedback, which is an area that we are looking at.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll have both you and Chris back at a future date.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
And Kelly, great last words, and where can we find you?
I guess my last words on gamification would be taking, the simple, easy way of explaining it, like Chris had mentioned. It's taking all that tedious, boring stuff that you get stuck doing at work and just making it fun. Putting together a contest or a competition, or just adding an air of fun to it. I think we should all take a little bit, take a lesson from that because it's fun. So again, Kelly Perkins, AVI Systems. You can find me at AVI_Kelly or on LinkedIn or AVIsystems.com. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly, once again. Always my faithful co-host. And again, I'm Dawn Meade. I'm the Director of Marketing for Net AV. We're an AV integrator and managed services company here in Maryland. And I'm also AV Dawn, at AV Dawn on Twitter, and AV Dawn throughout the online world, I guess. Heads up, little secret that not everybody knows yet, but I am in the process of completely redesigning avdawn.com, and I promised George Tucker and Bradford Ben and a few other of the guys that I will have a new blog post up soon. So I just had to read it. It was driving me nuts. I couldn't put a new blog post on an ancient design. It's almost completely redesigned, and there'll be a new blog soon from AV Dawn. I know, famous last words. And my last word on gamification is similar to Kelly's: have fun, because that's what it's all about. It's about finding ways to have fun in our world, in our life, and in our businesses, And when you're having fun, it attracts other people, and that'll result in real dollars for you. So have fun, and let's play.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.